You probably know Viktor Frankl, who was a psychiatrist, was born in Vienna, lived in Vienna, who passed 2.5 years in concentration camps, survived them. His life theme was search for meaning. And he called his therapy, his counseling, his philosophy, he called it logotherapy. Logos means meaning in philosophy, and therapy, help, healing through finding meaning. He developed a philosophical, he used the philosophical concept of the human being, Max Scheler's philosophical anthropology, as a basis for his logotherapy, and he made logotherapy the practical application for the theoretical basis, coming from the existential philosophy, making it fruitful, practical, applicable in psychology. Frankl, you see his portrait here, and this is his house. His apartment, he lived in this apartment in the 8th district in Vienna. Existential analysis is an analysis of the conditions to come to a fulfilling, holistic existence. You can take existence quite similar with life. To come to a full life. Exist means being there. When I'm here, when I'm fully here, then this is rewarding, this is fulfilling me. But how can we come to this existence? And this is the question of existential analysis, what are the preconditions to come to a full life? What do we need? And we can ask this theoretically, which is done in the research of existential analysis, and we can do it practically. We can ask ourselves, what do I lack for a full life? Am I happy? Why not? And then all the dreams and the wishes come up. What would we would need some more money, or some more friends, or a better love or relationship. But that what I have, isn't that already a good basis to come to a fulfilling life? What is lacking if my actual life is not fulfilling? And this has a lot to do with myself. So the aim of existential analysis is to connect me personally with my situation in which I am. We often think the outer circumstances must be perfect, then I can be happy. The reality, the psychological reality, the phenomenological reality shows us something different. The outer circumstances, they can be better or worse, of course, but how am I able to deal with them? Is happiness being rich or healthy, or is happiness something else? From where does it come, happiness? And so, in the center of existential analysis is the concept of living with inner consent. Inner consent, an approval to what I do. If I disagree with what I do, then I'm going to lose myself. And when I'm not living with myself, how can I be happy? When I'm not living my life, how can this lead to a meaning or to a fulfillment? It depends on me. We are not just here. The human being is in their essence free. So this means we decide who we are. We decide upon our destiny to a great deal, to the important deal, to this part which depends on us. This is depending from my perception and some more elements which we are going to describe. And it must be, I want to make us aware that my contribution, my agreement, my approval, my affirmation of my life, this is what we have, what we can work on, and this gives us some depth in our life. This leads us to the real rooted deep life. Inner consent. Inner consent means simply saying yes. It's nothing complicated. We can live with inner consent without having studied, just intuitively. And we often do it, and we hopefully mainly do it in our life, that we go for a walk because we find there's good weather, or I need some movement, or we have a talk, we call our friend, and we say yes. We feel it intuitively. It is a felt yes. Consent means sentiments which come together. It must be a felt yes. Otherwise, if it's just purely cognitive, it's not very helpful. It gives us some idea, we can reflect upon it, we can have thoughts and clarify some problems and philosophize or discuss or get more information and read books, etc. But ultimately, this inner consent is a feeling which comes up by itself. And it is very important. This is the key for a fulfilling life. We all have it, but many people are not aware about the importance of this inner yes. They feel it, but they ignore it, they step over it, or sometimes we all do it because we say, no, I'm too tired, or it's not so pleasurable, I feel I should do that, or this would be the good thing, or but I don't want to, and then we are going to lose ourselves when we are not congruent with this inner resonance. A feeling is an inner resonance, and we cannot make a feeling. A feeling is a form of perception. We cannot make what we perceive. When I'm looking there, I see the door, but I didn't make the door. I received the door. When I feel an inner yes, when I feel this resonates with me, this is something which I take up, which I get, which I can be attentive to. And when I'm attentive to something very central in my life. I'm attentive to my essence, me as a person. When I'm personal, I'm essential. When I'm not personal, I'm superficial, I'm arbitrary, I'm just functioning, but not really me. To become or to be really me, I have to connect with this resonance. How does it feel like? What do I sense? What do I perceive emotionally? And I think about it, of course, and I connect it with my former experiences and with my knowledge and attitudes and belief and all this. But ultimately, if we do not live with this in connection, with this inner resonance, we do not live our essence. And when I'm not living essentially, I'm not getting the fulfillment. You see, this is connected with happiness, because when I can be myself, and when I'm not alien to myself, but when I feel this is really me, when I have the feeling This is my life. This is how I am. I behave, I decide how I am. Then I'm really free. Then I'm fulfilling this task which starts with having been born. This was a beginning which was mainly performed by my mother. But I have somehow to continue this being born and to bring myself into birth every day, in each situation, to bring myself into this world. When I can be myself, this is something great. This corresponds to the construction plan of being a human being. And then when I can do what I want, I feel free. When I can do how things resonate in me, then I'm essentially free. And I'm not alone anymore. I'm accompanying myself. I'm going with myself through my life. I'm standing behind myself. I'm defending myself. I'm fighting for myself. I'm working for myself. I'm experiencing for myself. I'm accompanying myself. We often ask each other, how are you doing? How are you feeling? Are you happy with your life? Are you content with your life? The existential focus goes to me personally. I can be happy today because there's sunshine, or I was lucky, I was not late, etc. But more important is how I behave, how I decide, how I resonate with my life, with where I am. Am I happy with myself? Am I content with myself today? I may have been successful or not today. It may have turned out that things didn't work the way I planned, I wanted. I was rejected. Existentially speaking, this is not the important thing. Existentially speaking, important is how did I deal with it? Am I content with myself, how I took it, how I reacted, what I did? Even when I have difficult life situations, even when we have a cancer. I remember Frankl once said in a public lecture that when a patient comes up with a cancer, they of course lament and have difficult time and want to speak and cry. This is a space which we have to offer them that they can do it. But then when we start working existentially, then we tell the person, I'm curious about you, much more than about your cancer. The cancer, it should get its treatment, the best treatment possible, of course. More we cannot do. But more interesting than your cancer is you, how you deal with it. The cancer is somehow like a side step, or something like a hook where we hang on our coat. But me, how I deal with it, if I am able to lead a good life, this is the question. And it is possible to lead a good life also having a cancer. It is hard to imagine, but you may know people who were able to perform this, could achieve that. And it is a human possibility. We have 4 dimensions with which we have to deal. All human beings have to deal with that because they are given. The first is the world. I am in this reality. And even if I lived on the moon, I live in a reality. A reality which is always something else than I am. The world. But the other fact which we have to deal with is our life. I'm a living human being. I'm born, I grow up, I mature, I become old, and I will die. Biological life. We also have a psychological life, which has some similarities to it. To live. We have to live in this world. Do I do that? Then the fact is that we have to be ourselves. For the whole life, I will always be me. I cannot exchange myself. I cannot be another person. I can play theater, of course, but it's me who plays that role. So I have to care for my relationship with myself, because I cannot separate from me. And then I'm always living in a wider context, in bigger horizons, in a family, or working in a university, or in a working place, in an enterprise, or living in a city, and living in an environment, and living in a climate, and I'm connected with all this. These are realities we have to deal with, and these are the basic realities. And these realities, with these realities is connected actualities. I show you a diagram with a table which should, it is easier to remember. When I say I want to do something, I have inner consent, I agree with it. If I do what I really want, then I'm fully existing. And this table is standing on 4 legs. I can, I like, I may, and I should. Finding meaning. What is meaning? And the basic question here is, I'm there, but what for? What for am I listening to this? This is the question of meaning. When something is interesting, we normally don't ask this question. When something is good, then it is okay. We already feel this is meaningful. But my job, after years, it's so boring. What for am I doing it? What for should I remain in the relationship? This is sometimes very burning meaning questions. And Frankl brought up a very basic idea in dealing with the meaning question. He said we should make an existential turn, a turn around of 180 degrees, instead of always simply asking, what do I get from it? What is my profit? How can is this valuable for my career, etc.? Instead of asking and looking for answers, turn around this question for 180 degrees. And he said, it's the situation itself which asks me, what does this situation want from me? What is this situation right now asking me? The basic question is what I'm going to do with what I hear. Should I deepen it? Should I go back and think about something which popped up while I was listening? What am I going to do with that? This is the basic question which is always around. What asks the situation me? What is the question of my actual life? What is my life asking me? And what is my personal answer? So, to be here means I'm asked. What I do is questionable. And to live means to give my answer. In giving my answer, in doing, in acting, is my actual meaning. If we do not follow this and have problems with this dimension, this is the highest risk for suicidality. All suicidal people do not see any more meaning in life. And suicidality, when people try to attempt suicide, this is a decision. Almost no suicide happens out of just a pure reaction. This is such a fundamental act that it needs my inner yes. But when I don't see a meaning, I have nothing which holds me back. There are no ropes anymore which connect me with my world. Prerequisites in this dimension are to look at the good context, that we have a good relationship, we have a family, to work on the family, to work on when the working place is corruptive, it's hard to find meaning to work in a corruptive enterprise. For whom should I work there? The context is very important. The field of activity, that within this context, do I have activities where I can do something, where I can experience something? And is there a value in the future? Does this lead to something which is good, which promises that there is something which is created, which my effort leads to something good? If this is not the case, it is not meaningful. These are the three prerequisites for this. And we define existential meaning as the most valuable possibility in a given situation. The given situation here is now this talk, the reality. Existential meaning is based on facts, on this world, not on fantasies, not on wishes, but on what is really there. To connect with it and to look, what possibility do we have? I have the possibility to finish in 2 minutes. And this is maybe the most meaningful what I can do now. The best possibility, we have many possibilities. We could sing together, or we could make some gymnastics. This is also a possibility, but it's not in the line of our intention, why we came here. The meaning question is also a difficult question, because some people combine it with the ontological meaning, which means the meaning of my life. Why do I live at all? Why do I have cancer? Why are there human beings at all? This is the big ontological meaning question, which we have no knowledge to answer it. We get some information in religion, in philosophy, and art is dealing with it. And we may have some inkling for it, personal. Why am I born? Why am I here? Maybe to play good music, or to have a family, or so. We may have such an individual, personal feeling for it. But knowing is not there.
I've got practical questions about the children, how to give them the meaning of life. So how do you deal with this precious, and that basically applies to both parents and children?
Yeah, we cannot give meaning to our children and to their life, but we can help them that they look better and deeper by entering a dialogue, discussing situations, and mainly, and this is the best education what we can apply to children, to live personally my life. And they are going to copy us. And they are testing us when they are in puberty. Are you really solidly yourself? And they bring us into rage to test. Are you that solidly yourself or not? Because they want to know the truth. Can I live an adult life in that way as you lived your life? Very good. See, young people want us, they want to see the truth and they test it. So to be a role model, not even consciously, just honestly being myself is the best education. And this gives them values, or we don't even give them value, but we make them feel what is valuable. And they perceive it by themselves. And some things may be a bit different. A next generation feels different, looks differently. This is the evolution of life.
What is the most common reason why people are not feeling in the consent in life? As you said, we have a feeling, or I have a feeling what I may or can do or should do to feel this consent. But there's this common phenomenon of procrastination, self-sabotage, why you're not going to the gym, why you're not in touch with your friends or family as often. What is the reason behind it? Is it fear? Is it...
It can be fear. There can be many reasons. But one very common reason is that I don't really understanding what is going on because I live a cognitive concept, how it should be, or I learned an educated concept of how life should be, how this must be performed, to go to the gym twice a week. It's a good idea. But then I paid the fee for the gym, but after a month, and this is why gyms live, people don't come anymore. And they have much more people who paid than really come. Why? Why are we procrastinating? Sometimes we feel lazy. Do I understand why I am lazy? May it be the case that I have a deeper consent to not go to the gym, but to have an agreeable evening, than to torture myself? Why am I procrastinating? When I'm procrastinating, I decide again and again, for days and days, I'm not going to start this work now. The tax declaration, I procrastinate until the last moment. When I must do it, it's easier than to do it deliberately. I'm not crazy, I do not like to make that. So why should I do it? And I'm caring somehow for my life when I'm procrastinating. It's not so bad. In my head, I have how it should be. But this is only one dimension, the cognitive level of my life. I have a feeling, and when I don't feel the necessity, when I don't feel that it is worth doing it, it's healthy not to do it. Some laziness is healthier than some toughness, which leads to the heart attack or the infarct. To give ourselves more freedom, to try to understand our inner movements, because we are not only rational beings, we have much more knowledge, intuitive feelings, which tell us you need some more recreation, you are too tired, you don't have the mood for it. So The mood is a perception of how my life looks like actually. When I don't have the mood for it, I should ask myself, for what do I have mood? Because we are always motivated. We are always moved. We are always touched by something, but sometimes we don't see by what we are touched. Especially, and we have a hard time when it does not correspond to our ideal self-image. Thank you.